my two sons were over, and at that time I was divorced. We're getting shared custody. I got the kids 50% of the time, so they were over spending the night. And my kids are used to seeing. I mean, it's like we've seen lots of go outside and see UFOs all the time, and so they're pretty much over it. I got a communication from the same female, as like 30-year-old female, and she said distinctly, it was, Eric, come outside, we have something to show you. Or it might have been, Eric, come outside, we have a show for you. I don't remember exactly how it was flip-flopped, but it was that in so many words. This was on 8/14/2005, and it was about 10:15 at night. And what I'm about to tell you, what we saw, was recorded by a gentleman in South St. Petersburg. He was outside drinking beer with his friends, and he ended up getting on some videotape of this. But he's never wanted to release the video for whatever reason. And so we went outside, and I said to Jeff and Matt, we were both standing on the sidewalk, and I knew exactly where to look. It was like, I'm going to call that word again, push, like it was data, like where to stand, even though she definitely did not tell me where to stand. I knew exactly where to stand, did I not? Mm-hmm. I said, stand right here, look right up there. And what went by was like 5 minutes. Yeah. Matthew, because he was younger, he was like 12 years old, his attention span was a lot less. So Jeff hung out. Jeff, I felt like deep inside he wasn't going anywhere. He knew something was going to happen. Is that what I felt like?
Yeah.
I mean, was I right?
I liked it as a kid. I always stared at the sky.
Yeah. I mean, you were fixated. I mean, if I was your age and my dad was telling me that, I wouldn't have stood there more than 30 seconds.
Look up there, so.
Yeah, I was telling him to look up there. I knew something was going to happen. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I had no clue. Matt, a few minutes later, he goes, Dad. His words were, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going inside. He turns around, starts walking toward the house, and the last thing I remember, and it happened right then as soon as Matt walked away. Up in the sky was these white spheres. They weren't orbs. They weren't. This is nothing but white circular. I mean, I figured they were like some kind of huge crafts flipped up, trying to form a cross. It was. They turned on 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 2 on each side, and it looks like this. This is not a photograph. I'm going to get to the reason why there's no photograph of this. Jeff immediately went and did this on Photoshop, and this is what we saw. And this is the trees on both sides, and us looking up at about. We're looking up at about
45 degrees.
Yeah, about 10 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And this is about 10:15 p.m. on 2005, and it was bright, and it was sharp, distinct, well-defined, huge. I would say probably.
You couldn't cover their hand, pretty much.
Yeah, if you held a nickel out at at hand's length,
mm-hmm.
That's how big these spheres. So I figured this might have been 5 miles long by a mile wide. I mean, is that even right?
It looked like it was in space.
It looked like it was in space.
So it was pretty big if we could see it at that distance. It was probably way bigger than that. Way bigger than that.
Okay,
probably
so
like 10 miles long.
Yeah, it was huge. It was just absolutely huge. I mean, I'm surprised I haven't heard other people talk about it.
It was like in the outer atmosphere. It was glowing on the atmosphere. That's how big it was.
It was for us. I got called out there to see it. I knew I was right there. And Matt, I yelled at Matt. Instantly, he just started turning on. I was like, Matt, get back here. You're missing it. And he's like, missing what, Dad? Where? I can't see it. And I was like, Matt, you're not going to see it looking at the numbers on the house. Meanwhile, I'm looking back up again. Turn to look at Matt again, look up. I said, get over here. Matt was like frozen. I mean, he was just like midsection frozen, would not take his eyes off the numbers on the front of the house. So I gave up on that. I don't know what was going on with him. He just would not turn around. He was just stuck. I mean, is that what he looked like? Yeah. I mean, stuck facing the house. Why would he not turn around? I think there's some kind of control over him. But here, I'm going to get to the story that comes after this, and this is going to make sense why he was not able to see this. I reached down to pick up. I had a Sony video camera, a Highline one, about $1,500. It was about 5, 6 years old, great shape. And I had a brand new Sony Mavica 5 megapixel, which cost me about $600 at the time. That's when cameras still starting to come out, and it was a lot of money. That was not even 90 days old. When I reached down to pick that up, right when I was getting ready to reach down and pick that up, there was, right next to this cross, looked like an old-fashioned, I would let Jeff describe it, but there's nothing today that really describes it.
It was
but
like a flash cube. I've seen a flash cube.
You've seen a flash cube before?
Yeah,
it looked like a really dark violet blue flash cube. Brilliant, and it was to the left.
It's
right
way
here.
off to the left.
You think it's this farther
It
off?
flashed the whole sky on the left side.
I remember it being like right over here,
Yeah.
really close to it.
Well, it lit up the whole sky over there.
But when this thing went off, and this was definitely in outer space.
Mm-hmm.
That was in outer space,
Yeah.
and that was brilliant. I mean, it was as big as one of these spheres. And this was perfect. It was perfectly defined, showing across. If that's what this is, I don't know if it's got, if it's related to Christianity or what. This has got nothing to do with being religious. This is what we saw. After that blue flash went off, which I believe it was some Star Wars system, and we had a colonel that I'm not going to say where he works at, but he came to the house because I was on the internet and I just I've been talking about little spots here and there of this stuff. So he spent 3.5, 4 hours here.
You didn't say what happened
Yeah, I
after the
did
flash
tell him.
cube. It
Yeah,
just
Well, I told him
flicked
about that,
off
and I told him I thought that was Star Wars.
Yeah.
The Star Wars. That's what I felt like from the day it happened, the minute it happened, and
Mhm.
he turned around, looked. He wouldn't tell me what it was. He wouldn't say anything. Wouldn't give me any information. I mean, that's because he's in the middle. He's top brass, but he definitely whipped around and looked right at me when I said
Yeah.
that. So that made me think that's what it was. So.
I didn't say after the flash cube or whatever it was that went off, it lit up the whole sky behind it, and immediately afterwards it just started flicking off all these lights like instantaneously.
Going off like the same order they came
Yeah,
on, or
pretty much.
well, not same order, but they 1, 2,
They
other one,
flicked
other one.
off in variation, and they're just gone.
It was like somebody turning off fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of.
But it happened within a second or two. They just
Yeah,
started
real quick. I mean, not like they had ballast problems,
Yeah.
but it almost reminded me of a fluorescent light turn on, like a fraction of a second before it gets
Mhm.
light. And it's okay. Well, I think everybody's got the idea of that. Now I'm walking back. I'm walking back to the house. I pick up my little box, cardboard box, got all my cameras in there. Didn't get nothing. This is on Photoshop. Didn't get no proof of it, but got witness. And so walking back, I didn't get even to the front stairs yet. Matthew, I think, has already gone in the house, and I got this really like a feeling of really like something really bad happened. And well, actually, before this happened, when I went to pick up when I went down to pick up the cameras to take a picture of this, I forgot to say, I got a telepathic voice that said, from the same female, she said, "Eric, leave your gadgets at home. These signs are for you." That's what she said. And I thought it was kind of weird. I never say anything. Oh my God, she just said something to me again. But that's what she said. And when it comes to you, it's almost like it's being talked to your subconscious. And then, I don't know, maybe there's another suggestion afterwards that says, keep this to yourself. Or she always, I never hear that word, but anybody watching this would probably say, well, why in the hell have you heard somebody say that right after? Why wouldn't you say that to somebody? But, it's always later when I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy cow,
It's almost like your own thoughts.
But it's not my, your own voice is like a male voice. It's your voice in your
Yeah.
head. I mean, that's what my voice sounds like. I never hear anybody else's voice ever, except for the handful of times I've had a telepathic, voice, and it's this female. And it's a female of the gray that came into the room. When she was talking telepathically, I was like, holy cow, that's the voice I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm.
The very distinctive female. So I get to the door of the house, and I felt really bad. And I felt like somebody got hurt. I think that was my own feelings. And then I heard the voice say again. She said, "Eric, nobody got harmed, but we're not going to have any further communication until this is resolved." It might be one or two words off, but that was pretty much what she said. After that point, I have not had any, we've had different experiences, but I haven't had any direct communication.
There were a lot of different experiences after that, though.
Oh, yeah, but
Lots of them.
that was the last of my really clear telepathic. I've had a handful of experiences where,
Hasn't been resolved yet.
I guess, hasn't been resolved yet. So I get my take is that maybe the Air Force or somebody up there took a pop shot at them. Were they lining up for us?
It appeared it's pretty much right over MacDill Air Force Base.
Oh yeah, this is like this is halfway between here and MacDill Air Force Base. I mean, this is almost over our property. It was 10 o'clock in the sky. It was aimed at us for us to see.
It could have came from there. That was pretty much the distance. It was off to the right, and MacDill was off to the left. So where that flash cube happened, that's pretty much that same area.
Yeah.
Except the flash cube kind of looked like it was in space.
Yeah, I believe it was a satellite or a Star Wars satellite.
It looked like it was in space with it. So, but still, it's kind of.
Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the next story because we want to save some time here. This is taking days. So, let's go to the next experience. Was when we were at the cabin, and when I got in the vehicle. I remember getting the voice again. She told me to come to the Shell Mound Bridge, and that was a very short communication. And whatever she says, I mean, it's like when she tells me to do something, unless it's really rubbing against something like some friction, like what happened when she told me to come back up to the house. I mean, come back up to the property, start a fight with your wife. It's almost like it's now later in life I know how hypnotic induction. If you look up at hypnotic induction, like maybe Darren Brown, he's a good example. They have examples on there of knocking people out using those, a certain phrase. And when I heard that, that's what. Anyways, that's
it wouldn't have been too hard because we were probably going to Shell Mound that night anyway. So.
No, I don't think we were. We were out driving in the vehicle, and
well, we were looking for a good place to see stars, but we it was.
But it always seems that way. But the voice, when the voice comes over, it's almost like, okay, here's the voice here, and it's don't share. You know what it is? It might be an embedded hypnotic suggestion from probably 30 years ago that whenever you get a telepathic communication, don't talk about to anybody, don't say anything to anybody. It's for you. That's what I'm thinking, and it's not. I don't remember, but maybe it's embedded in my. Just like a lot of people say about mind control with the government, and like trigger words. Makes you do something that's pre-programmed. I'm not saying that's what it is, but that's what somebody else can draw a conclusion. I'm still drawing conclusions after all these years. So here we are going to Shell Mound. This is 140 miles from here, near the property and hunting cabin that we all go to. So here we are. We go to the bridge and it's dark. And long story short, we immediately start seeing UFOs just flying across the horizon. I mean, speeds were just unimaginable. One side of the sky to the other, just in 2 seconds, and then up and then down, and I was getting this feeling that these are black triangles. We've seen about 3 or 4 black triangles in the rectangular shape of the property. That's another story that we haven't talked about that I probably won't bring up maybe some other time. But that's when my buddy Billy and I saw a rectangular craft over the top of the cabin. We watched it from 9 o'clock at night till 2 in the morning. It never left. But we never did anything. I never took one of my lasers and shined it at or provoked it or tried to take a picture of it. And it was just too dark. But you could see the outline was right over the cabin. But there's strange instances like that where, why wouldn't we do so? Why did we just go to bed? This is strange. But anyways, back, go ahead.
The one on the bridge that was really colorized, you got that on film with an old one, and it was like multicolored, and it wasn't shooting across the sky. It was stationary for a while, but it was constantly moving different directions back, and then it started coming towards us, and then my brother, he started freaking out. He was 12 at the time, and then started freaking out about it. Because this ball of light was coming at us, all different rainbow colors. My dad's filming it while my brother's freaking out. And I may because my brother was freaking out, but then it started taking off in the other direction again. It never came. But.
Well, yeah, here's the way I remember it was we all that saw the UFOs. Actually, this Shell Mound event happened before the cross, because my video camera was still working.
I think it was.
Going back to the cross in the front yard, that night I went to turn on my video camera and my camera, and both of them were not working. I changed the batteries out, did everything. Neither one would power up. And I'm like, what the? I tried charging them. That night I got a message from her. Here's another telepath. I forgot to tell this in the last story. She said, don't worry, Eric, we'll make it up to you. As far as they broke my cameras. They did not want that cross documented by us. The only thing that exists is Jeff's Photoshop that he did right away. You can't see the trees on there. But absolutely, I had $1,600 worth of equipment broken, and I sold them both on eBay, and even back then on eBay, a month later, I wrote on eBay, if whoever buys these, I like new cameras for junk, I sold them both for $30 each. Yeah, and wrote on there, I said, if you ever find out what's wrong with it, let me know, because I was filming an unidentified flying object. And okay, so going back to Shell Mound, Matt was flipping out. I got the push feeling like, okay, we're going to come and meet, and the craft is going to land on the little cul-de-sac right to our right. And it was a huge black triangle. It was an image that was put in my mind. And then Matt, I said, and then all of a sudden the craft, the biggest one, was coming at us so fast. I mean, if you ever see a police car coming at you at 100 miles an hour on a two-lane road, it looks like it was floating, and it looks like it's got a tint to it. It's coming. And that's when I said, okay, guys, they're going to come over there, and they're going to hover right over the beach, right here, the cul-de-sac. Matt started. He was sitting on his rear end on the deck and he started kicking his feet and said, "Dad, tell them I don't want them to come. We don't want them to come." And I could see it. He was anxiety. I mean, Matt's a little bit different personality than Jeff. He doesn't take this stuff back then too well. Now he's fine with it, but he was causing a lot of problems. So the craft stopped. And when it stopped, I thought to myself, oh my God, I got my video camera. All this time with me, I had my video camera. Back then I was not really into really trying to document it. I grabbed the video camera, got it up, and the thing, when it was stopped, it was changing all these colors.
Yeah, like rainbow oscillating.
Yeah, it looked like a kaleidoscope thing. So I'm zooming in. I got that on videotape. I had the videotape. I found it finally downstairs. So I have that. Maybe I can send that to you, James. It's only probably a 30-second clip or whatever before it flew off.
Yeah, but you could see an obvious moving, like different than a plane or anything. It was actually doing straight turns and all that.
9-degree turns. Yeah, it was really crazy fast too. And by the way, before I forget, that night, a woman in California, and she got it on videotape, and it is exactly the same thing I got on videotape. I'll never forget. It was on CNN. Woman photographs UFO over the ocean.
Somebody saw this too, didn't they?
Yes, a guy downtown's got it on videotape. He's outside drinking beer with his
Somebody around
friends.
here got it on videotape.
But he won't release the videotape. I had somebody, an investigator, a long time ago, heard about this story on the internet when I just posted it to somebody. He said this is the first. He documented this as the first. What's
religious symbol. He
first
took
religious
symbol,
connotation or something, or
like
some kind of
Constantine thing
to a human from extraterrestrials. But see, we don't even know if these are extraterrestrials or not. He jumped to that conclusion. I'm not going to say who it was, but he's in the United Kingdom.
He took it as a religious symbol.
Yeah, he's in England, and so. Okay, now here's the hook for the whole thing. Here's the clincher that really ties it all together. When that craft stopped, and Matt was having a lot of problems about the craft coming, the woman's voice said to me, she said three things to me. The third thing, I can never remember what it was. I forgot it a half an hour later after that, because I probably didn't really hear it. But she said, "Eric, we're not going to come over there. We can't cause anybody anxiety or violate their free will." Mm-hmm. Now, I know a lot of people are going to think, oh, well, that sounds demonic and all that. I've had people say that to me. It's not demonic. They had plenty of chances to get us alone and do something. They've come into my bedroom once, and that was the only time I have a witness with me. But
it's universal law. Can't violate someone's free will.
Back when this happened,
everywhere.
That's right. This is whether you're benevolent or benevolent law. Beings. I think the whole thing is about the universe is, anybody who's a higher species than a human can't violate can't enter your life without your permission.
Yeah.
Whether it's demonic or somebody who's that's my theory on it. I'm sure a lot of people think that too if they study this stuff long enough. But the reason I think You know what we found? Remember what we found out later on about why we had this signal by a really well-known psychic with PhD doctors. All of us at that. Oh, you weren't at the table. I told you about that.
I don't remember that.
We asked why. This has been puzzling me for years. I said, why were we shown this? I thought it was because I had a lot of friends at the time saying, "God, these stories you got, you know."
They sound angelic.
These are what the Bible talks about, demonic and all that. And I really started second guessing all this. I said, is this demonic? And I think that they chose this to show it to us because it's a religious symbol that we're familiar with. But they said that this sign was here to bring Jeffrey and I closer together. And I would say if we probably didn't have this, all these events we had were just spotted. This was something you and I shared really. I mean, this was powerful.
Yeah.
And we talk about this all the time. It
You
really
can't
did.
mistake that. You can't mistake that.
If this didn't happen after all this time, it probably would, because in families, these kind of things tear families apart. I mean, it's got my brother and I fighting, all these years. But Jeffrey and I we have a common bond because we both laid our eyes on this, and these were no airplanes, these were no fireflies. I mean, it was crazy. This is the real deal.
We live next to McDill. We see airplanes.
Yeah, we see them all the
every
time.
day.
I mean,
That was not an airplane.
Yeah.
It was way too big.
Yeah, a 10-year-old, a 5-year-old could see this. It was a big event. But that's what we got from a psychic, and I got that actually on video. I got a 100-pound oak table levitating off the floor, and that thing was moving around the floor, and whoever on the other side was being directed with the information that knew about this, and that table went right into my stomach as an indicator of yes. And that's when I knew that this was this was done as a big an attempt. These beings are they evidently monitor everything. That's what I think. But Matt was not able to see this cross before we went to the bridge. When they found out that Matt was getting a lot of anxiety, and they were violating, and there's another violating his free will, and there's another third one. I don't think I'll ever remember what it was, but it was very similar to matches up to 3. But Matt was sent away from this cross. He was not allowed to see it because it caused him anxiety. And as soon as he turned around, he got frozen toward the house, looking at the numbers on the house. He couldn't move. I remember he was standing like this, in midair like that, and he was stopped. And no matter what I said about how much I screamed at him, get back here and see this. They just made sure he couldn't see it. So those are the 2 stories that I wanted to add to it. And that concludes. I don't think I've had any more. That's a handful of telepathic, clear-cut communications that tie a lot of us together. And there's, it doesn't. It's not all the things that we've seen, but those are a lot of the major ones. So.